forward line. This is the one that seems to have the most, I don't know what you'd say, not heat on it, if that's the right phrase, the most interest. And it almost goes back, that Sam Maguire exclusive. Do you remember sort of early Feb where he said Liverpool are looking to revamp, and a lot of people scoffed at it, didn't they? A lot of people also scoffed at his report around Darwin Nunez and the Saudi interest. Let's be deadly honest. It was pretty much all proven right, wasn't it? It all came out from mainstream media, didn't it? That Al Nassr, I think it was, the Saudi club, were in talks with Darwin Nunez and were looking to do a late deal. However, Juan Duran ends up being the late income into Saudi there. It could have been Nunez. And as all the reports came out, Liverpool didn't want to do that deal, didn't have time to do a replacement, but would review it in the summer. I think this is a foregone conclusion. Maybe people think completely differently. David Lynch actually said on a Media Matters pod the other day, he actually used these words, so I'm not misquoting him. He's 100% certain that Nunez will move on this summer. The Saudi links still keep coming up, don't they? They keep being mentioned. I fully expect Darwin Nunez to depart this summer. I fully expect it to be to a Saudi club. Did anyone clock that clip, that little interview he did with Luis Diaz when they were joking about cars and money, etc., or all those bits? And he made a joke, didn't he, about Saudi money and then did that. And obviously, maybe it was a bit before we know what we know now, but that's just adding fuel to the fire. He is a cult hero for some, Darwin Nunez. I understand, but it's still hard to escape things like that miss against Aston Villa, isn't it? And when you look at the stats, 4 goals in 22 Premier League appearances, and think about that. Part of that was the double against Brentford, wasn't it? Yeah, so take that away from recently too. The goals have dried up. I actually think if you look at him as well, his confidence has dried up. It would not surprise me at all if everything was in place already almost for that move and it was just waiting for the summer for everything to be fully revealed. We'll see. But I would bet a serious pretty penny that Darwin Nunez leaves Liverpool maybe for decent money this summer. If it had you at the start, before these Saudi rumours broke in Jan, you'd probably be, for me, maybe 40, 50 million would be a decent return. Now you maybe add another 10 or so onto that. Either way, I fully expect Darwin Nunez to depart this one. Paolo saying there, Endo does have similar characteristics to Salah and Don Bless. Yeah, as I said, Paolo, I love Endo. He's absolutely a cult hero. I adore him, the way he plays, the way he puts his body on the line, the gum shield, the lot. I just struggle to see him being here next season. We'll see. Mike's there saying, if Nunez had cost 20, 30 million on next, there would be an issue, but you can't cost that and not be consistent. Yeah, I don't really see how it's said any other way. It's a big money signing that we've had the evidence for 3 years now. It just hasn't worked. So Darwin Nunez is the first one to depart for me. And I said the first one because it comes back to that article of Liverpool plotting an overhaul and what does that mean? I think there'll be 2. I genuinely think there will be 2. And I won't be popular when I say this, but I'm expecting Luis Diaz to leave this summer. He's nearly left Anfield before, just to be clear on that. He is 28 years old. He's got 2 years left to go on his deal. That's a key time, as we know, for Liverpool. The age, the years left on the deal, it's either tends to be now renewal or move. Yes, there is an element in recent times of running down, but that's not standard Edwards' MO, if we're completely honest, is it? Luis Diaz. And every time you're saying the name, probably like me, you're always singing in your head, na 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 na. And he was brilliant against Newcastle the other night. Absolutely brilliant. That is the peak Luis Diaz is capable of. Brilliant performances like that. We've seen them at times this season under Arne Slot. Cannot get away from that. What we also see from Luis Diaz is the trough and the other end. The output looks okay this season, doesn't it? Around 2,500 minutes, 17 goal contributions, 13 goals. That looks decent, doesn't it? On the no two ways about it. And that's why the player is worth a pretty penny. It's just when you start to analyse that. I mean, the start of the season, look at that. The double against Bournemouth, he was brilliant. The double at Old Trafford, the early goals against Brentford. He started the season like a house on fire. And then you look at this run from almost the end of the year to now. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Premier League games. His last 11 Premier League games, 2 goals and 1 assist. So 3 goal contributions in the recent run. They do seem to have dried up a little bit for him that way. I don't think you can debate it. And it's funny at the start of the season where he was in the team, no doubt, bagging them, a house on fire, on a hot streak. And that's the word streak. Cody Gakpo was almost out the team, wasn't he? He's like, yeah, he's the relief for him. He can come in now and again, play the cups. That model or that impression, perception has shifted, hasn't it? And I think the stats bear that out. There's no way Cody Gakpo was going anywhere this summer at all. Luis Diaz, though, I do expect to depart. It's interesting as well. Everyone knows Pipe Sierra, the Colombian journalist. He tweeted about it recently saying there's no direct contact between Diaz and Barcelona. That it just keeps coming up and the dad doesn't help, does he, at the same time? But it could be ignited if the contract talks don't go anywhere. Here's the thing. Would they renew Luis Diaz? Does it make sense to renew Luis Diaz at 28 and offer him a contract extension? I think we've hit his ceiling. I genuinely do. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's an excellent player. He's a real asset for Liverpool right now. I just think we will see him depart and a younger player come in. Maybe a player who can play left wing forward. Before people say, oh, it wouldn't be that simple. You never know. Liverpool like that versatility across the front line, But those are the players I expect to depart. Palacatano saying there, respect your view, but end away here next year. My 1986 Ian Rush signed Children's Encyclopedia will be burned. Paolo, say it again, mate. Desperate for him to stay. Just don't see it. Ernest there saying picks for the attacking options. Nunez must go. I think there seems to be unanimous agreement. I can't see any different in the chat panel on this. Diaz likely because of his inconsistencies. Jota's third, maybe too injury prone. I suppose it does come back to this as well. The similarities between Jota and Diaz are pretty startling when you look at it here. If you think about it, both 28 in the summer. Both will have 2 years left to go in the summer. Big decision time. The opposite is Jota's never available. Diaz's availability is one of his strengths. You have to put that in as a varying differences, stark differences for these two. Diaz, I suspect, probably wants out at the same time because he has not had a single renewal. Since he joined from Porto, he's not had a typical contract extension. It's important to say that because if you think Jota had one, Mane had it. For me, it's been typical that forwards who have performed at Liverpool quite quickly within 12 to 18 months, the stats, the facts show that have had a bump, an increase, an extension, whatever you want to put it as. He has not. That will be, I suspect, playing on his mind at the same time. So I think that goes into the mix. I just cannot see Luis Diaz being at Liverpool next season. And listen, he is a star. He's got magic. He's got stardust on his day. But that is where I think it sits. And people are also already going to war for Jota. I was saying there, Jota is a beast. Jota is an amazing player. For me, on his day, an elite 9. When is that day, though, now? It gets less and less, and not necessarily because of his ability, because of his availability. Part of being an elite player probably is availability. That comes into it. Even the other week, he was supposed to start against City, wasn't he? And Slot was honest that he was feeling it and came back against Forest, out again. It's the games you can get Diogo Jota on the pitch seem to reduce and reduce and reduce. For me, I think the market for Diogo Jota is reducing now, as in what people will be prepared to pay and how Liverpool then view that. I honestly think Liverpool will see Diogo Jota a little bit like Daniel Sturridge. That if you could imagine, if you could have kept getting Daniel Sturridge on the pitch for 30 games a season, you know the return you will get out of him. I honestly think, for me, they will dwindle Jota down. They will not offer a renewal that he's possibly looking for. I know Sam Maguire wrote about it. There will be clubs interested. Even Arsenal, funnily enough, out of all teams, were linked. They're the one injured forward, don't they? I just don't think that market will necessarily be there for what Liverpool want. As in, if there is an offer, it'll be like, no, we're not selling for like 30, 40 million. So with that, maybe, just maybe, you let him run his contract down. That you think if we can get over the next 2 years 60 games from Diogo Jota, that is how I think they will see it. The aspect that could change is, do Liverpool get a decision to have to make? As in, does someone slap 50 million plus on the table for Diogo Jota? I think if someone does put down 50 million, there's a serious conversation between Hughes, Edwards, I think, in terms of availability, what it could do. I just don't think that will happen. And before someone's put in the chat panel, what about Mo Salah? Did you not hear me earlier? We have to beg, steal, borrow, pawn a kidney if we have to keep the best player in the world right now. There is zero doubts about that one at all. We're almost not treating him as part of the conversation just because we all know what needs to happen there. Yeah, Mike also saying, I do think that plays a part. Luis Diaz, I think, will feel a bit shortchanged right now as well with the situation. Mike also asks, and this is the way I wanted to finish this, because they're a little bit separate. What about the youngsters we'll have to make decisions on? Who will go out on loan and who will be sold? I think there is the real future for the likes of Trey Ione, maybe a loan next season. He's one I wanted to talk about. James McConnell, I expect a loan. I do like James McConnell. Just got a viciousness or something, a good nastiness to him, a bit of bite about his game. He did well in PSV. We've seen him do well in that cup final. I think he's got the hallmarks of a Liverpool player. He just has to physically develop. Jayden Danns, I expect the same. It's a shame what's happened with Danns, hasn't he? He's on loan at Sunderland, but I don't know what the injury is. Maybe someone can tell me that. But that's almost ruining his time at the moment. I think it's too early to say if there is a Liverpool future. And I like Jayden Danns. Whatever it is, he's got it. It's just the standard for the forward line is insane. You have to remember that. Liverpool's 6 forwards. The one people will say, you've not really talked about too much. Does anyone actually expect Chiesa to be here next season? Does anyone actually expect a pedigree like that, an Italian international with Champions League experience, to accept playing? I think it's 270 minutes at last look. Yes, he's had to build up his fitness. Yes, we've heard the talk of a mini pre-season. But Chiesa's far too good to be doing this, isn't he? There will be interest in him. And it felt like a 10 million punt, I want to call it, an educated punt, so to speak, from Richard Hughes. But I would be absolutely astonished beyond belief if Chiesa is happy to be here next season. Just the way I see it. Maybe everyone sees it differently, but I almost played that as a straightforward answer. We'll see if the chat panel agrees with that. The other sort of youngster I wanted to call out, who I think will be departing Liverpool, this will not be popular. Ben Doak. Ben Doak is one of those players that is rapid, excites, is direct at a winger, is young, has potential. All those things you will put a tick against. You'd think it seems a good loan. He's doing very, very well under Michael Carrick, isn't he? There's a difference between doing well in the Championship, showing that potential, and being a long-term successor to a Mo Salah. I just can't see it. Now, if you look at recent stories as well, and let's just be factual, Ben Doak had a bid rejected, didn't he? I think £60 million from both Crystal Palace and Ipswich Town. It was quite clear Liverpool made the briefings that 30 million quid was what they were looking for. That's always the starting scale, isn't it? If you meet in the middle, I think Ben Doak will go for somewhere around the £25 million mark. It feels a little bit like a Carvalho style transfer. You know, when they got that money out of Brentford with add-ons as well. That is what I think will happen. Just because Ben Doak maybe, and I'm saying this, I don't think will come into the Liverpool first team, that does not make him, we're not 12, it's not good, we're not bad. I just think the standard to be in that Liverpool forward line is insanely, insanely high. Look who he'd be competing against next season. You hope Salah, Gakpo, Jota, probably someone else coming in, and the others. It's just, where's he going to get his minutes? I know people are going to say, "Oh, it's the cups," but is that enough now? Do you not think now he's playing for the Championship? I know he's had a knock for Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough, so he's been out recently. But when he's been fit, he's getting first-team football. I just don't see it. And I would love to be wrong with Ben Doak, and I mean that. I would love to be wrong. I'd love for him to come back, tear it up pre-season. But even if he does tear it up pre-season, I believe it will be the prelude to a move somewhere. We will see. There you go, ladies and gents. We've talked the back. We've talked goalkeeper exits, fullback, centre defence. There's big question marks. Midfield, we love the starters. Fifth and sixth choice, they've probably got decisions to make themselves, haven't they? Despite the fact that they're adored by many, and quite rightly. The forward line, as has been talked about, there may well be a revamp coming. No doubts. I think 1 certain to leave. 2, there's a good chance. 3, struggling to see it, but who knows until the summer. And probably a good place to finish there, because Mike's saying, but who can play on the left of Salah side? You're going to get a successor unless he leaves, unless they can play across the front. So Doak may be a short-term option. It's possible that Ben Doak stays. I don't say that with certainty, absolute certainty will leave. I just made my case. I do feel there's real... The facts on my side is too strong, but when you look at all the evidence, I think that's what it stays to us. Doesn't mean I'm right. Only the summer will tell. And I know there's a few comments coming in, people, about what about this incoming? This was a show purely about departures and who we think could be heading for the exit at Anfield this summer.